The military is an important aspect of any country's security, and now the Middle East especially, we've seen a lot of significant changes among the nations when it comes to their military. Welcome back, guys, to another episode. My name is Leroy Kenton, and now for this video, I've decided to take a look at the updated numbers of the most powerful nations in the Middle East. So let's take a look. Let's just jump right into it. Starting at number 10, we have the nation of Morocco. Morocco has a total active personnel of 310,000 with a defense budget of $10 billion. Morocco has one of the largest armed forces in the region, again with 310 active personnel. However, it has one of the lowest defense budgets at just $10 billion. And by the way, the defense budgets will be listed in US dollars. But despite that, it has a military power index score of 0.8408. Now, the country's forces has gained useful experience as a result of the political instability in its neighborhood. In particular, the disputed territory of the Western Sahara to the south, as well as further but limited experience in other areas, including being a part of the Saudi-led coalition fighting in Yemen. Now, greater investment in its military forces is expected to continue in the years to come, and they're helped a lot by their support that they get from Saudi Arabia. Moving on to number 9, we have the nation of Syria. They have a total active personnel of 142,000, and their defense budget is $1.8 billion. So of course their defense budget is a lot lower. Now, years of fighting has left Syria's military machine very damaged but also battle hardened. Their serving members total 142,000, but they're really short of personnel, and it's leading to increased efforts at conscription, which many actually do their best to completely avoid being drafted into the army. Allied militia alongside conventional forces have played an important role in keeping the regime of Bashar al-Assad from being taken over, and their military power index rating is 0.8241. Moving on now to the nation of Iraq at number 8. Iraq has a total active personnel of 165,000, and their defense budget is $1.73 billion. Now, Iraq has a pretty low defense budget, although this is still a long way behind Saudi Arabia's spending level. Now, the country's armed forces have made significant gains in recent years in battles against enemy militants, as well as recapturing the city of Mosul back in October of 2017, and driving them out of other areas of the country since then. Now, they have been helped in the task by assistance from the United States, as well as other Western powers, as well as they've gotten military advice from Iran's Al-Quds Brigade. Their military power index rating is 0.7911. The nation of United Arab Emirates comes in at number 7. They have a total active personnel of 64,000, and their defense budget is a lot larger than these other nations previously that I just mentioned at $22.7 billion. Now, their military power index rating is 0.7034. So of course, UAE is ranked a lot higher than many of its other neighboring countries. Those nations include Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, and Qatar. Now, it's said that their forces are arguably some of the most capable among the Gulf Cooperation Council states. They've really gained a lot of valuable experience in Afghanistan, Libya, and Yemen, especially in recent years. And the country's special forces also impressed a lot of people, especially after their amphibious assault to capture the Yemeni port city of Aden, and that happened in July of 2015. Next up at number 6, we have the nation of Algeria. Now, they boast an active personnel of 130,000, and their defense budget sits at $13 billion. With some of the best equipment in North Africa, much of it being sourced from Russia and also from China, Algeria's military has a score of 0.4659. The country has had to battle domestic extremists for many years, as well as faces troublesome border areas with neighbors including Libya and Mali. Not to mention playing a very important role in supporting the Western Saharan independence movement, the Polisario Front. Alright guys, so we looked at 5 nations in the Middle East so far. Now, before I get into the last 5, just a reminder to hit that like button if you're enjoying this episode so far. Also, if this is your first time here to FTD Facts, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, so that way you'll be notified of our daily episodes. So come back every single day to learn something new here on FTD Facts. So that said, let's move on to the last 5 nations. Starting at number 5, we have Israel. Israel has a total active personnel of 170,000, and now they have a defense budget of $20 billion US. With numerous hostile neighbors to contend with, Israel has always felt the need to ensure that its armed forces are clearly superior to anything that they may have to face in battle. Israel Defense Forces are some of the best equipped and best trained as well as most capable of any in the region, and this is according to the IISS. Also, they continue to be supported heavily by the United States, and the country's military power index sits at 0.3111. Saudi Arabia comes next at number 4 with a total active personnel of 478,000. And now their defense budget is $67.6 billion. Yeah, that's a massive leap. They are a regional giant, at least in terms of its military budget and its size, which of course easily surpasses a lot of its other rival nations. Also, Saudi Arabia's military power index rating is 0.3034, so that's why it comes in at number 4. Now, the huge amount of money being spent in Saudi Arabia each year means that the country has some of the best equipped army forces in the entire Middle East region. Its involvement in the Yemen civil war over the past several years has given its forces valuable frontline experience, but its failure to defeat some of their opponents there also has raised questions about how effective their forces are when it comes to military action. But speaking of regional giants, we move on to number 3, Iran. Iran, they have a total active personnel of 523,000. Now, their defense budget is $19.6 billion. Iran has more active personnel than any other country in the Middle East region. Looking at their whole military together, their army, their navy, their air forces, as well as they have more men in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC. Years of international sanctions have meant it has been unable to source many weapon systems from abroad, and this forces Iran to really improvise and develop a substantial homegrown defense industry. Its armed forces are also seen as particularly strong when it comes to asymmetric warfare, and the Iranian forces, particularly the elite Al-Quds unit of the IRGC, have played a very key role in fighting in both Syria as well as Iraq, and also Iran has provided support to the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Iran's military power index rating sits at 0.2191, so that puts them at the number 3 spot at the head of many other nations in the Middle East. Now moving on now to number 2, Turkey. So some people still view Turkey as the most powerful nation in the Middle East, but they were recently bumped by another nation. We'll get to them in a second. But Turkey has an active personnel of 355,000, and their defense budget is $19 billion. Also, their military index power rating is 0.2098. And Turkey's armed forces have faced a lot of up and down throughout the years, which many of its officers purged from the services following a failed coup back in July of 2016. Now, since then, the country has become ever more heavily involved in the war in neighboring Syria, and concluding in the Afrin campaign launched back in January of 2018. Now, the country also has important overseas military ties with Qatar and Somalia, basing troops in both of those countries. Not only is it seen as the largest military force in the Middle East region, but it's ranked in 11th place globally, just ahead of Germany and Italy. And then now moving on to the number 1 most powerful nation currently in the Middle East, we have Egypt. Egypt has an active personnel count of 438,500, and their defense budget is $11.2 billion. With the former general now in charge of the country, Abdel el-Sisi, it is very unsurprising that Egypt's army is in a very powerful position in the domestic political arena. The defense forces of Egypt are currently in the midst of an equipment recapitalization program with new fighter aircraft, attack helicopters, surface-to-air missiles all being brought in. However, the country has struggled to deal with the challenge posed by insurgent terror groups in the northern Sinai Peninsula for the past few years. Now, their military power index rating is 0.1872, and Egypt is seen as now having the strongest military force in the Middle East and is ranked 9th strongest in the entire world. So that's where they are right now, guys. Sorry, it is no longer Turkey, it is now Egypt. Alright guys, so that was a look at 10 of the most powerful nations in the entire Middle East. Let me know down below your thoughts and comments about what you heard in this episode. Also, if you have any ideas for future FTD Facts episodes that you want to see, be sure to leave them down there as well. And before you guys get out of here, just letting you know that my social media links are below in the video description section, so you can follow me on those platforms as well. And I'll be leaving you with a related episode. It's going to be at the end screen, so definitely check it out once I leave, which I'm doing right now. Enjoy that, guys. See you all next time.